If you can remember the holies of holies, this is when God told Moses to build a tabernacle. He would put up a post and cover the post with sheets. That would be the fence. And then everything inside of there would be considered the holy place. And then inside that fence, he would build a tabernacle. And inside that first room, that was also considered a holy place. But then there was a curtain up between that room and the back room. And the back room was considered the holies of holies. And this is where the high priest would go in and offer up sacrifices, because the Ark of the Covenant, which was covered by the mercy seat, this was angels. The top of the mercy seat is the top of the Ark of the Covenant had angels facing one another, and the priests would go in and offer up sacrifices, and that sacrifice would defer Israel's sin for the next year to the high priest go and do it again. But if God accepted, he would come in and burn up that offering. And that was a sign that he received that offering. And so the holies of holies is a place that signified the presence of God. If you remember Isaiah, he said he seen the Lord the year the king Uzziah died, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple, and the room was filled with smoke. And he was, in other words, he was in the presence of God. In other words, you cannot get any higher than being in the presence of God. And so I gave you an explanation of that because I want you to understand that whenever we're talking about the holies of holies, we're talking about a superlative, which means of highest in quality. And here it is, a Song of Solomon that is stuck right in the middle of the Bible, and it is considered by Jews and others the highest of quality. In other words, if you go from Genesis all the way through Revelations, right in the middle there, you have a Song of Solomon, which says that this is the most significant book in the Bible. But guess what? It doesn't even mention God. It mentions love. And when I thought about that, why is a book that is considered a superlative the most important book in the Bible? Well, you'll get that in the message. Or you'll get that in part of the message. You'll get part of that. But the bottom line is, in the Song of Solomon, it never mentions God. But it talks about human love. And so, I just want to, we want to look at the whole chapter 1. And so, I just want to read maybe the first 9 verses, just to give you a flow on how things are going to go. But we really want to deal with the whole chapter. This is the Song of Solomon. The Song of Solomon. Chapter 1. Song of Solomon, chapter 1. Song of Solomon, chapter 1. And we want to begin with verse number 1. If you have it, would you say amen? Amen. Let's begin with verse number 1. The Song of Songs which is Solomon's. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine. Because of the Savior of thy good ointments, thy name is an ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. Draw me, we will run after thee. The King hath brought me into his chambers. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine. The upright love thee. I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar and the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but mine own vineyard have I not kept. Tell me, O thou whom my soul loveth, where thou feedest, where thou makest thy flock to rest at noon? For why should I be as one that turneth aside by the flocks, by the companions? If thou know not, O thou fairest among women, go thy way forth by the footsteps of the flock, and feed thy kids beside the shepherd's tents. I have compared thee, O my love, to a company of horses in Pharaoh's chariots. Amen. We thank you for the reading of the text. Hopefully by now you're thoroughly confused. But by the time we are done, you will not be. A few minutes, I want to talk about I am his and he is mine. I am his and he is mine. I had told you earlier that God is not mentioned in the Song of Solomon. And yet, by many Jews, it is considered the holiest of holies. Oftentimes, when the Jewish rabbi read this passage was so sacred to them that they literally pull off their shoes. And they were looking back to where when God gave Moses, when God first got Moses' attention, he said to him, pull off your shoes because you are standing on holy ground.
Right.
And thereby the rabbis, during the Passover, when they read this passage, they literally took off their shoes. And so again, I want to, I cannot express the importance of this text, because it is a text that literally talks about human love. And I want to dispel, like this passage does, the big lie. The big lie is that the devil accepts sex, but God doesn't. I want to dispel that lie, because it was in Genesis where the Bible tells us, and God blessed them and told them to be fruitful and multiply. And so we have taken that which is holy and made it unholy.
All right.
But we need to know that God intended for man and woman to love one another. And he wanted them to express that love in the way of intimacy.
Right.
It is a holy thing for a husband and a wife to express intimacy one toward the other. And therefore, we have this whole book that is about intimacy. This whole book is about intimacy. Right. It is about the love of a man that a man has toward his wife, and the wife has toward her husband.
Right.
But in the beginning, we see that the book of Solomon Songs of Solomon, it's an unusual book. It is a book of scenes. It is a book that is not in chronological order. And I want you to understand that. It is not in chronological order. But I do want today to start off by cheating a little bit to give you some kind of order.
All right.
But as we get into the text, I want you to know that the text or these scenes are out of order. It begins with this Shulamite woman, whereas this Shulamite woman is working in the fields.
Right.
And while she is working in the field, she sees this handsome man. She runs into him, and she falls in love with him. And as she falls in love with him, he falls in love with her. And they spend time together every day on a regular basis. But what she does not know, that this is Solomon, and y'all stay with me. I'm just trying to set it up. I'll get back to the text in a minute. I'm trying to give you an overview. But what she does not know is that Solomon is a king.
Right.
But Solomon has left his castle. He has left the kingdom. He also has some land. He has left the kingdom because now he's been stressed out because of all of the kingdom work. And Solomon at one time was a shepherd. And so he now goes back into the field to be a shepherd. He want to get away from everything. He want to relax. He want to get out in the atmosphere. He want to lay down under the moon. He want to walk around under the shade tree. He want to get out in the open. He want to experience the outdoors so he can rejuvenate himself.
All right.
And that says something to us. There are times when we need to get out of the house. We need to get out of the office. We need to go for a walk. We need to get under the sunshine. We need to see the beautiful stars at night. Because Solomon is known as one of the wisest men that we know of, right? And so Solomon knew how to rejuvenate himself. And so he got out of the castle. He's like, I need a break from being king. I need a break from the kingdom. And so I need to get out and go and find me some sheep. Find some of my sheep. And I have a pasture over here. And I'm going to lead my sheep over to the pasture. I'm going to go out and do some physical work.
Yes.
That's a good thing, right? Yes. So while he was out there, he ran into this Shulamite woman.
Right.
Now on one side we have the king. On the other side we got a poor peasant. We got this Shulamite woman, and they meet up. And Solomon keeps it a secret on who he is. But they know what. But there's one thing that they know. They know that she knows that I love him, and I know that he loves me. And so after being together for a period of time, and this whole Songs of Solomon, it takes place within 1 to 2 years. So that means that they met and married within a year. And so now he proposes to her and says, look, I'm coming back later. I'm coming back to get you. And so he leaves. And while he is gone, she's having bad dreams about when is he coming back. And she's having all kinds of dreams. She don't know when he's coming back. And she prepares to be married, but all of her dreams are dispelled by, no, I don't think he's coming back.
Right.
She don't know where he is. Will he ever come back? He asked me to marry him, but where is he? So she's looking for him. And one day she seen dust. And it was a big crowd coming in. She asked her brothers, who is that? And they says to her, this is the king. This is King Solomon. He is coming back. And so she says, oh, okay. So she goes back to work. And then when he finally made his arrival and she came up and looked and seen who it was, she noticed, this is the king. I'm in love with the king. I'm getting ready to marry the king. So she's blown away because she never knew who he was. So he takes her and marries her and put her in his castle, and And now she looks around and she sees all of these beautiful women around him. And eventually he marries 700 women and 300 concubines, 1,000 women. 1,000. 700 mother-in-laws. Oh, he got a problem. And when she looks around, she looks at them and she looks at her. She looks at all of these women who grew up in the castle. Right. But herself out in the fields. And I'll get more into that later. But the bottom line, she loves them. But let's look at some of the history, and then I'll get into the text and bring it a little bit closer. But I wanted to at least set some things up so you can see what's going on. The book is entitled The Song of Solomon. In verse 1, notice what it says. The Song of Solomon. Or the Song of Songs. The Song of Songs. I want to tell you that this is literally entitled, in the Western world we call it the Song of Solomon, but in the Eastern world it's called the Song of Songs. Because he wrote 1,005 songs. But out of all of the 1,005 songs that he wrote, this one made the Holy Writ. He wrote 1,005 songs. He had 1,000 women, which is an indication that he may have wrote a song for each woman that he had. But out of all of the women that he had, God only allowed one to make it into the Holy Writ. Right. In other words, God is saying, I know you had all of those other women, but this is the one that I gave you. You know, man, we may have a whole bunch of women, but God didn't give us but one. Which one did God give you?
All right.
Out of all the women that we may have.
Had. Come on now.
Have.
Come on.
Or had. There's not but one.
Amen.
Not but one.
Yes.
That God gave. Now, anything else is out of God's will. This book is considered the holiest of holies, which I've explained that to you. We need to know that Solomon's mom gave him a guitar. And he created all of these songs for these women. He reigned in the United Kingdom for 40 years. And this portion of scripture is about this one woman. It is poetry, and yet it is wisdom literature. It is a story about Solomon and this Shulamite woman. Now, here's what I want to tell you. There's a lot of ways that this text can be interpreted. But I want to take the traditional historical interpretation. So when you go and start reading Songs of Solomon and read other commentaries, you may get some different interpretations from what I'm giving you today and for the next 7 weeks. But just know, I'm using the literal, historical, traditional interpretation. In other words, the Song of Solomon is not an allegory. So what's an allegory? An allegory is a false story that really didn't happen, but it tells of a truth. Well, this is not an allegory. This is an analogy. An analogy is taking truth and starting with truth that you know in order to tell another truth. In other words, Jesus gave a number of analogies. He said the kingdom of heaven is like a man who had 2 sons. Or the kingdom of heaven is like a woman who lost something valuable. And she looked everywhere, looked under the dress and under the chiffon looking for it. The kingdom of heaven is like a man that was searching for a pearl of great price. See, there's some comparison. Those are analogies. Got a question for you. Why is the Song of Solomon, number 1, is considered the holiest of holies and is an analogy? what is the Song of Solomon being compared to? Oh. In the Old Testament, watch this. In the Old Testament, it is compared to Jehovah and Israel. God's love for Israel. The Song of Solomon is about a father who is looking for a wife for his son.
Right.
It is about Jehovah that's looking for a bride for Jesus. And so when we get to the New Testament, it is about the church and Jesus Christ. So the Song of Solomon is, in other words, is being compared in the Old Testament, God the Father to the house of Israel. And in the New Testament, Jesus Christ and his bride. And so that's why it's so important. That's why it is so significant. That's why the Song of Solomon is considered to be one of the most, or the most important book in the Bible, because we understand human love.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody understands human love.
Amen.
It is saying that your love for God ought to be as intimate and personal as your love for your husband or your love for your wife. Boy, they get into some stuff in here. And it's saying whatever they do here, we ought to be experiencing that with our husband. You do know the New Testament church is styled as the bride. So it's about Solomon and this Shulamite woman. The study combines both rural and urban scene. A portion of the scene takes place in the hill country north of Jerusalem. This is where the Shulamite woman lived. It is also where Solomon enjoyed prominence as a vineyard and a shepherd. The wedding took place in Jerusalem in Solomon's home. The story took place over a maximum of 1 to 2 years. The Jews read this, the Passover, they call it the Holies of Holies. And I want to share with you that marriage is honorable. Watch this now. Father looking for a bride for his son so they can get married. So in this text, like the church, the father finds a bride and they get married. The father is successful. Solomon in the text looks for the bride. He loves her, he marries her, and life goes on. Analogies, two being compared. Y'all still with me?
Amen.
Now let's take a look at the book. Verse 1. The Song of Songs. The Song of Songs. The Song of Songs. The Lord of Lords. The King of Kings. Y'all got it?
Yeah.
Huh? This is the song here.
Yeah.
This is the song. This is the superlative. This is the most excellent quality. Out of all of the songs, this is the song. Got a question for you. If this is the Song of Songs, if this is the song, if this is the most holy of the holies of holies, then why don't we read it more? See, that's what got me. Why don't I preach out of it more? Why don't preachers preach from it? If this is Song of Songs, out of all the songs, this is it. If this is considered the holies of holies, if this is talking about getting intimate with my husband or my wife, whatever the case may be, if this is talking about being intimate, and the intimacy that we experience with each other is the kind of intimacy that we should experience with God, why don't we read it more? This is a Song of Songs, which is is you got to know who's speaking and when. You got to know who's speaking and when. So now from verse 2 through 7, the woman is speaking. What did she say? Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Now, take a look at that. Let him kiss me. Let him love me. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Guess what it didn't say? It didn't say location. She didn't give him a target. She just said, let him kiss me. With the what? With his what? With his what? No, not just mouth. With his kisses. She did not ask for a kiss. She said, let him kiss me, with the kisses, with the kisses. See, you can't run over this. With the kisses of his mouth. For thy love is better than wine. She done spent some time with him. And she says about him that his love is intoxicating.
Amen.
Last night I was studying this and I was stressed out trying to put all this stuff together, and I was trying to figure out the girls that came in, and they came in to celebrate Lynette's birthday, and Lynette had came into the house, and by the time she came in, my head was hurting. I was all stressed out, and I didn't want to take the focus off Lynette, but I needed a massage. And I was trying to wait for an appropriate time to ask one of my girls to give me a massage. But before I could ask, Lori said, Dad, she seen me rubbing my head, and Lori said, Dad, I'm going to give you a 5-minute massage. I said, all right. And watch this. When she started on my shoulders, she went to my head, and as she was massaging, I was literally dizzy. It felt so good. Yes, I was dizzy. I mean, I was stressed out. But and I said, man, how appropriate. She was really giving me a way to illustrate this text when this lady said, your love is intoxicating. When you drink wine, what happens? You get a little tipsy, don't you? And she said, when this man touches me, I get a little tipsy. I get a little dizzy when if he kissed me with the kisses of his mouth, it is so intoxicating that I get a little tipsy. And she was talking about, she was expressing the kind of love that she had for him. And one of the reasons that his love was intoxicating because she knew that he loved her.
Yes. Yes.
Not only did she love him, but she knew that he loved her. Some kind of way he had convinced her of his love. Is that not what God did for us?
Amen.
All right.
She said, let him kiss me, which is an expression of love, with the kisses of his mouth. And God said, you know I love you. I done gave you all kind of evidence that I love you. I sent my son to die for you, for God so loved the world. He gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Wow. No greater love can a man show but for him to lay down his life for his friends. She loves him. She knows he loves her. And their love is intoxicating. The way you love a man, God said, understand that. Receive that. Accept that. Become familiar with that. Know that. Now, That's the kind of relationship that I want with you. I want our relationship to be intoxicating. Does your wife know you love her? Without a shadow of a doubt. Does she know? Does she know that you love her? How do you feel about your wife? Do you love her? Is the love mutual? She loved him in this text, and he loved her, and she knew it. Let him kiss with the kiss of his mouth. For thy love is better than wine. It's not like wine. It's better than wine. If you notice, they don't use adjectives in here. They use these analogies. It's better than wine. Now, boy, this lady can talk some stuff. Look what she says. Now, keep in mind, she's talking about him kissing her with many kisses, right? Yeah. And him using his mouth to kiss her wherever. She said, it's better than wine because of the Savior of thy good ointment. Good ointment? What are you talking about? She said, he smells good. She began to talk about how he smells, and she said, this is why I want him to touch me with his mouth. Because he smells so good. His smell is intoxicating now. His smell is so passionate. When I smell it, I want him to touch me. Because the Savior of thy good ointment. Watch this now. The name is an ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. Now look, she done went from his mouth, touching her. Now she done went to the smell. And then she goes to his lifestyle. She says, even your lifestyle smells good. The way you live smells good. In other words, I like everything about you.
Everything.
When I see you, I get excited.
Yes, yes.
When I get close to you, I smell you and you smell good. No wonder virgins love you, because not only do you look good, not only is your touch is good, not only do you smell good, but your life is good. And no wonder young women love you too. No wonder. Women get mad when other people are attracted to their husband. You ought to be glad.
I don't know why.
Because you're the one got him.
Amen. That's right.
Verse 4, draw me, we will run after thee. The king hath brought me to his chamber. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine. Thy upright love thee. Now, I told you, the scene skipped all over the place. Yeah. Now we went from him courting her. Now they're married. And now she's in his bedroom in the palace. So the king hath brought me to his chamber. We will do what? We're going to be glad. We're going to be glad. We're going to be glad and we're going to rejoice. And we will remember love. She going to remember while they're in his chamber. She going to remember how he loves her. And he going to remember how he loves her, and she going to remember how she loves him. And they said, we're going to rejoice and be glad in this situation. We're going to be happy together.
All right.
This ought to be the goal of every married person.
Right.
Being glad that you're married to one another. are together. Being glad that you are one. And learn how to rejoice together instead of fussing and fighting all the time.
Yeah. Right.
Uh-oh, here come my wife. Hate to see her coming. Or the wife. Oh, here he come again. No! That's not marriage.
All right.
Marriage is loving one another, being attracted to one another, glad to see one another, and rejoicing together with one another, and being happy when you get home together.
All right.
I hate to go home because I know he's going to be there. No! Your love ought to be attractive to the other party, where you look forward to seeing each other. My mother-in-law can tell you, when my wife and I got married, to this day, I've never told my wife she couldn't go anywhere. To this day, I never told her. And I know that my wife, my mother, they're not only mother and daughter, they're best friends. Mother was working, making really good money. They stayed gone all the time. I let them go. Never said nothing. But she can tell you that when they will leave, when they come back, I'm out in the yard, in the tree, waiting, looking down the street, waiting for my wife to get back.
Amen.
Because I wanted to see my wife.
Yes, yes.
Never told her. I told her I will never tell you can't go anywhere. To this day, never told her. But it doesn't mean I don't miss her when she's gone. In my whole life, my wife is the only person that I really missed. I don't miss folk. That's just who I am. I'm just designed like that. I love folk. I love everybody, but I don't miss nobody. But my wife.
Amen.
When she gone, I wanted to come back. I had to train myself. Not to yearn for my wife, because now she's still going to leave longer. I go find stuff to do. And now she'll wait till she get ready to come home. And she'll call me and say, Larry, on my way home. It's like, I really don't want to know that. I really want to know where you've been, you know. But I don't even ask that, you know. Hey, I learned a long time to turn my wife over to the Lord. And when I do that, then the Lord going to take, I told her, whatever you're doing or not doing, I done put you in God's hand. So I don't even worry no more. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, you ought to be glad to see your wife coming. And she ought to be glad to see you coming. And y'all ought to be glad to be in the house together. You ought to be glad to be alone together. You ought to be glad that you're going to bed together. Not she got her back turned to you, about to fall out the bed on this side, and you got your back turned to her, you about to fall out on the other side. What's wrong with that? And got a king-size bed, and you're about to fall out the bed on each side. And then one of you, you're trying to give in a little bit, and you move your feet over and touch it over, and then she moves her feet out the way so you can't touch it. Don't even touch me. They weren't like that. They were glad to be in the chamber. They said, we're going to go in. I don't have time. We're going to go in the chamber, and we're going to rejoice, and we're going to be glad that we in this bed together. And I wish I could go further. I wanted to finish with chapter 1, but I can't. It's 12:55 already. I'll pick it back up next week. Bring your wives with you, okay? Bring your husbands. I send you an invitation. You come by letter, Christian experience, or candidate for baptism, whatever way, but you come.
Someone loves me.
invitation. You can come by letter, Christian experience, or candidate for baptism, or whatever way. Would you come?